Welcome friends in lecture 7, lesson 2 is matter around us pure. Now in this particular lecture we are going to see differences of different uh, types of properties. First of all, we'll start with physical and chemical change. In physical and chemical change, we need to understand certain points. So, physical change is a change in which no new substances are formed, but in case of a chemical change, it always gives out as a product of a new substances. Like hydrogen and oxygen mixes, so it gives a water molecules which neither contains oxygen or hydrogen properties. In physical change is easily reversible, that is original substances can be recovered very easily, but in case of an chemical change original substances cannot be recovered very easily. Like as I given an example of water molecules, hydrogen and oxygen cannot be recovered very easily, but in case of a physical change, if I heat the water, it turns to gaseous molecules, and from gaseous molecules to the again back to the liquid, it can happen very easily. Now, some examples of physical change are freezing of water that can be converted easily, melting of wax, boiling of water, etc. But in case of chemical changes, there are many n number of types of chemical changes are happening even in our body, like digestion of food, burning of coal that we are burning, and rusting of iron that we see in our surrounding are all chemical changes. Generally, chemical changes do not involve in production of energy, but in case of a chemical change, there is a combustion that we speak out. It always involves in the production of energy, that is heat energy, maybe in the form of heat energy, maybe in the form of light energy, maybe in the form of an sound energy. Right. So this is and differences between physical and chemical change. The next differences we are going to take is with respect to elements and compounds. Now, elements and compound, the definition is elements are basically pure substances which composed of one only, that is only one type of an atoms, right? But in case of compounds, they are substances which are formed with two or more different types of elements, which unite chemically. In case of an element, it's a single same pure atom, all of them. Like iron, if I say all the atoms present in a piece of an iron are all same, but in case of a compound, it is not so. Ability to break down, that's the second property we are taking. Elements do not broke down and cannot be broken down into still more simpler substances in this particular reaction formation, that one atom cannot be broken down furthermore. But in case of an compounds, yes, we can break down and separate these substances, right? Like hydrogen or oxygen, in some point of time we can pass electric current and separate them, so they can be broken furthermore. Total number of elements present on the earth, it's a next property, that is total number. The elements present on the earth are 118. Out of that, 94 substances are practically found on the earth, while in case of n compounds you can frame n number of compounds. Fine. Mixing two elements in different proportion also you can form different compounds, like hydrogen and oxygen. Only hydrogen and oxygen is hydroxide. Two hydrogen and one oxygen is water molecules, that is H2O. Two hydrogen and two oxygen is hydrogen peroxide, which is another different substance. Three hydrogen and one oxygen is hydronium ion, this is another substance. So even oxygen and hydrogen can be mixed in a different proportion, forming different compounds. So with different elements you can frame n number of compounds. The next property is type. Now elements are classified in which particular types. They are classified as either as metals, they are classified as non-metals, like iron, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, they are all metals, but in aluminum, gold, everything. But in case of non-metals, they can be oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, these are the different non-metals, so they can be classified. But in case of a compound, are classified according to their bonds, like it is an ionic compound, it is an covalent compound, it is an molecular compound, it is an metallic compound. This is how we find them. In case of an example, as I given you, iron, copper, gold, etc. in case of elements, but compound sodium hydroxide, NaCl, sodium chloride, these are the different compounds that can be classified for. So I hope so you understood this part. we are going to shift to the next differences, that is compound and mixture. Now what are the differences of compound and mixture? Compounds is, as we have seen it before, compounds are which can be formed by mixing two or more elements, where in case of a mixture two substances are formed by physical mixing of two or more substances. These are mixing of physical, that is they are not uh, changing their own properties, fine. Like if I just explain you in simple, water molecules, as I given you, hydrogen and oxygen combines to give a water molecules. In the same way, physically if two substances are remaining, like water and sugar, water and salt, if I give you two glasses, one is water and sugar and water and salt, if you taste it, you retain the property, you say yes, this is water and sugar, this is water and salt. So all the substances in separate two glasses retain their original properties. Composition detail, that is chemical composition of compound, is always in fixed ratio, whereas in mixture it is variable. That is uh, as I told you, two hydrogen and one oxygen, the ratio is fixed, so the water molecules are formed. But in case of mixture, putting sugar inside the water does not have the fixed ratio, it can be more also, it can be less also. Separation of constituent, the constituent of the compound can only be separated by either chemical or electrochemical processes, that is methods. So chemical methods are used, and electrochemical, that is passing of electric current and separating two of the chemicals from it, or by putting another element which is more reactive, one can be separated. There are many different methods of chemical for separating of substances. But in case of mixtures, they can be separated by physical separation methods, as we have seen it in previous videos, physical separation methods like separating funnel and many more. So they can be separated. Fourth property is a new substance is formed after the constituent are chemically combined. So the compound has the different properties from its constituent. So as I told you before, when two or more elements combine to give a new compound where it does not retain either of the property, like in case of water molecules, oxygen and hydrogen properties are lost. A water molecule is the entire new property, because hydrogen is a gas, volatile gas, and oxygen is also a volatile gas, and combining it forms a liquid, that is an water molecules. Mixture, no new substances are formed, guys, right? And they retain their own properties, as we have seen it before. Last is an example, water compound is water, H2O, salt, NaCl, baking soda, that is NaCO3. But in case of mixtures, the compounds, the mixtures are of oil and water, sand and water, smoke, that is smoke, and fog, that is smoke, etc. These are the different examples of mixtures, right? The next difference is, that is the last for this particular chapter, is differences in physical properties of difference in physical properties, that we have seen. The difference in physical properties of elements we have seen as metals and non-metals. Now difference between differences in metals and non-metals, metals are malleable and non-metals are non malleable, means can be produced in the form of sheets like paper sheet, like sheets of metals. Metals are ductile and non-metals are non-ductile, that is wires cannot be made. Ductility is a process by which we can extend it out. So these are ductiles and non-metals are non-ductiles. Metals are good conductor of electricity and heat, where non-metals are not good conductor of heat and electricity. Metals are lustrous, that is shining, where in case of non-metals they are not shining. So metals can be polished and made it shine. Metals are solid, generally at room temperature. Only one is there in the liquid form, that is bromine, in case, sorry, mercury in case of liquid. Whereas in case of non-metals, they are generally found in solid, liquid and gaseous, all phases, in different proportion also. The melting and boiling points are higher. In case of non-metals, they are not high as metals, they are higher but not high as metals. Generally metals are hard but non-metals are soft, and metals are sonorous in sound and non-metals are non-sonorous. Sonorous means producing sound, like the glass falls from our hand and creates a big sound, that is ringing sound, that is called as sonorousness. So metals are sonorous by their sound, but non-metals are non-sonorous. So here the we can say the difference between metals and non-metals is finished. As you know, metals are generally, as I have told you before also, iron, gold, silver. As an example, non-metals are sulfur, phosphorus, oxygen, nitrogen, many of them. Fine. So thank you for this particular lecture.